If you're in this game, be 100%. And I can guarantee that it will change your life. You will know more about yourself and you'll be more honest with yourself. And the more you dive in, there will be other gains coming to your life.
Alrighty. What's going on, traders? Welcome back to another TFT interview. My name is Kenta. Today we're joined with our trader Shiva. He's funded with $650,000. He's gotten payouts of over $70,000, and he's been with us since August. Welcome, Shiva, to the interview. How are you doing today, man?
Thank you, Kenta. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm good. Thank you so much. It's beautiful out here in sunny Peterborough, England.
That's awesome. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. What got you into trading and how did you start?
Trading, I started around the time of where everybody got into trading, which is around the pandemic time. My background is engineering. I'm a trained microelectronics engineer. Then I did even a business degree. I did my MBA here. Because of that, I'm always into business and technology. I think that is something which is definitely quite good applicable to trading. And that's how I said, let me try. And then once I started trying, I lost some money, of course, just like everybody. But then I said, let me crack this. Then I got into things like algorithmic trading. I started studying all of those things. And that brought me to not risking my capital to all the firms. Initially, that was really a hard time. I lost about 20 odd challenges. Then finally, I got my holy grail. And since June this year, I've been trading full-time, trading funded capital. And that's how, I found being quite good. But at the top of that list is the funded trader program. You guys have been amazing. The team, Angelo, has been sort of very, very helpful. And I found like a community here who's like a like-minded trader who knows how to trade, how to help each other. And it has been fantastic, Kenta, to be honest.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. So in the beginning, when you said you lost those, 20 some odd challenges, what was really like holding you back at that time? What was the main things and how did you overcome those things?
At that time, I think every time it was some kind of an incremental understanding that was getting added. So it was missing. That element was missing. The initial stages, I realized it's not, the MACD or RSI. Your most important indicator is your economic calendar. You know what is going on in the fundamentals.
Right.
You don't have any consistency here into your trading. So I started with that understanding, and then that brought me to, risk management algorithms. Once I started enforcing that risk management, that completely changed the game. So, just to give you an example, I cracked the first 100K funded account. Within a month, I got 1 million funded. The scaling was immediate.
Wow.
So
okay.
that's how it went.
Are you using algos or are you like placing trades yourself? Like, what does that look like?
I'm doing a kind of a hybrid program where I have few algos which are running on MD5, but then I manage them manually because you need a little bit of discretion. You cannot have 100% on algos. This problem of making money through trading is very, very difficult. It's one of the what the computer scientists would call NP hard problem. Very few people could manage it completely by machines, and I don't think it's manageable by machine 100%. That's why I have some kind of a hybrid methodology by which I trade now, and it's been going good. I mean, I can't complain.
Outside of TFT, what's your funding? Like, it sounds like over $1 million. Like, what's the total?
So another 500,000 I have outside of.
Okay, just over $1 million total. That's awesome. And then as far as like your risk management, are you approaching your risk management differently when you are taking the evaluations versus like when you're finally funded, or how does that look like?
Yes, in a way, I have tweaked those algorithms in such a way that, but mostly my initial risk on these trees have been the same. It doesn't change that much. What I have tweaked mostly is the time frame. Earlier, I used to have 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, and then I realized, sorry, it's not working. Let's try a higher. So now I go with at least 4 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 quarter, 1 year. Higher, the better.
So you consider yourself more of a swing trader?
Now I have sort of pivoted into swing, but I'm like a mix of swing to day
Okay.
because sometimes if you're waiting for some kind of a big news, it's good to exit from the market if the news goes completely against you. That's too much risk. So
Right.
if I've generated some profit, I would just stay on the sidelines
Okay.
and re-enter if things go the same way. Mostly they do. I really love one quote from one of my trading gurus. He says that markets have inertia. So if the trend gets going, it's very difficult to stop those trends. That's why most of the failed breakouts are the key point to re-enter. That is why I would say that I'm like a mix between a day trader and swing trader.
With your risk management, do you risk like 1% or like what's your max risk per trade? Like, do you have a max risk or what does that look like?
Max risk per trade is about 4%.
4%. Okay. So a little bit higher, a little bit higher.
Very high compared to, but I then tweak it. I then
Yeah.
tweak it. If that trade doesn't go my way,
Yeah.
I might not wait for that 4% stop loss to hit. I
Okay.
would exit earlier. Yeah, maybe around 2%, I would just call it quit. To begin with, I would put that risk on the trade and size it properly if it goes into my way. I mean, it is at the end of the day, you make more when you're winning rather than losing too much on that trade.
And as far as like, I mean, with that type of risk, like what's one of your biggest losses and then your biggest wins or like most memorable
Biggest losses was trading with my own money. I lost about $15,000
in one trade?
in one trade. When that trade completely changed in about April 2022,
Okay.
when we started downturn in stock markets. So that is when I hit that kind of a loss. Now I see that most of my wins I try to even out. They're not, there's no outlier as such. However, recently I was in a trade of Japanese yen, dollar yen, and that worked out really well. One gave me a 12 grand back. So
Nice.
you pay some kind of a tuition to market while you're learning, right?
Yeah.
But the learning for me was not to risk your own capital. You have too much psychological damage if you lose
Yeah.
it. So better use the firm capital and save your psychological capital.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so now, I mean, at that time, do you remember what you were trading with that loss?
It was stock index. It was US 30 Dow
Oh,
Jones.
US 30.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What do you trade now? Like, do you have a couple things that you trade? Are you trading like a bunch of things?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what is moving the market. So
Okay.
if something is moving, then it's definitely worth trading. Most of my challenges, I traded gold
Gold. Okay.
because it was definitely trending. It could be gold, it could be silver, it could be anything which is definitely in the news and trending. I would definitely trade that. I mean, sort of asset agnostic as such. But lately, what I've found, what even the great traders of last century like W.D. Gann also said,
Mm,
is better to trade commodities. So I've
okay.
been hooked onto commodities more than anything else now.
So do you trade oil as well?
Yes, I do trade oil.
Yeah.
My strategy is very simple.
Okay.
If you have a trend, you have support and resistance. And
Yeah.
if there is a trend, any break of support or resistance will be retested. And
Okay.
that is where my entry is.
Got it.
It's as simple as that.
Break and retest.
My strategy is very simple, is break and retest, and then the presence of a trend.
Okay.
If your moving average is sloping, then it is a trend.
Okay.
Whatever moving average you take, I use, 20, 200, 50, basic of all the trading. So now I have simplified trading strategies so much. Only support and resistance and moving averages. End of it.
I like that. Keep it simple, right?
Very simple. The holy grail is in your risk management. It has nothing to do
Right.
with strategy. It has nothing to do with what indicator you're using. At the end of the day, what we are dealing with is an entity which is chaotic. I've done a lot of mathematical modeling, absolutely rocket science. You won't find a natural phenomenon which will have a variation in its sort of value 8 sigma in maybe a day or two. To give you an example, you cannot lose half of your weight in one day, but you can lose half of your account balance in one day. This is really a
Yeah.
chaotic
Yeah.
entity that
Yeah.
you're dealing with.
Right.
Whatever you come up with, a kind of formula, a kind of modeling, it will break it. It will simply tear it into pieces.
Yeah.
All that you need to do is to survive for the next. That's what all the traders, all the big traders, all the big trading wizards, they have, said that you live to trade another day. The only learning that I got from losing those 20 challenges is the more I survive, I have better, odds, and my
Mm.
probabilities of winning that challenge are really high if I survive.
Mm.
If I cannot survive for 2 days, there's no way in the world that I can win that challenge. The more you survive, the more you win.
I'm visualizing it, and it's similar to something that I use. I definitely look at the 4 hour daily, the higher time frames and stuff like that, but I trade on lower time frames. So more of a scalper intraday trader. The more you get, like, you go further into your trading, the more you simplify it, I feel like. But as far as like when you were talking about how important fundamentals are, what are like the key things like fundamentally that you look for in the news, or like what like kind of helps you build confidence in a direction or in a trend? Like what do you look at?
Moving averages.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the truth because they are derivative of price, and price is the only king. Whatever you look at in terms of fundamental. Today, for example, if you have a news saying that the Fed had changed interest rate, for example, but if the market's reaction is completely against whatever Fed has done, you can't do anything about it. So the presence of trend in any time series is determined by the kind of moving averages that you have. I mean, these, what we call in our engineering lingo, these are all filters. They
Filters.
filter a lot of noise. So your best bet is the moving averages that you're looking at. They will tell you whether there is a presence of any trend or not. If the price is just zigzagging between a support and resistance, the moving average will be absolutely a flat line. I mean, I know a lot of people would, gravitate to different things. I
Yeah.
know some people are trading ICT, some
Yeah.
people are trading SMC, some people are trading, whatnot, even moon cycles. Even if I see ICT, I'm really impressed with the kind of, level of detail that Michael has
Right.
sort of put those concepts into. But fundamentally, they're all support and resistances. If you see an order block, it's what it is. It's either a support or a resistance. Not beyond that. It's just that you're refining the levels to a degree. But will it work 100%? Nobody can say
Sure.
that with even 95% of confidence. So fundamentally, only support and resistance are working for last more than a century, and then you come up with all of these methodologies to sort of hone in on some support and resistance. But that was very clear that we as human being, we like round numbers. So round numbers will be your support and resistance. There is no, question about it
Right.
because will be orders residing there. There will be some volume there. They are likely to be support and resistance for your trades. And if you manage your risk properly, you can be profitable. There's no magic.
Are your stop loss, like, are your protective stops, are they the same amount of pips every time, or do you adjust your pips based on what you're seeing on the chart?
I adjust those as per the volatility in market, which is, the ATR, which
Yeah.
is good. However, my stops are pretty wide.
Okay.
They're not 5 pips, 10 pips, 25 pips. Well, they may be, 60 pips. See, at the end of the day, if you analyze the probability of you hitting your stop loss or take profit is directly proportional to the distance that they are from the current market, current price. So if you want to bring those odds into your favor, then you need to have a particular tweaking of take profit and stop losses, which will benefit you, which will put the odds into your favor. Have I not experienced hitting my stop losses even when I have those wide stop losses? Yes, sometimes happens.
Yeah. Right.
Market humbles you very soon.
Your take profit levels, do you generally aim for like a 2R, like 1R, 3R? Like, what's that look like?
Time-based take profits, because I
Okay.
see during a particular time of the day,
Yeah.
you will reach a peak in price and
Okay.
then it will just roll down from there. I've analyzed that mostly around, London close or around that time, there will be a band of time where you can take profit and that will maximize your profit. However, sometimes I just sit on this. So there is a bit of discretion that I apply to take profit because that's an art. That's no science.
I wanted to ask you, as far as like your daily routine, like what sessions are you trading, and do you have some sort of preparation before your trading sessions? Like, I feel like to become a good trader, a disciplined trader, you need to be a disciplined person and you need to be a consistent person, right? So are there some things that you implement in your life to hold yourself accountable?
I hold myself accountable by following my trading plan. And my trading plan means I give myself a lot of room to make mistakes because, let's be honest here, in trading, there is nothing called perfection. I give myself enough room to be imperfect. And then what I need to envision is that I'm getting into a situation where my stop loss is getting it. So with every trade, I don't have high hopes of it getting materialized. My risk reward ratios are not that high because what I see that if everybody is going for 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 100, whatever, that risk to reward will not be available in market. So the risk reward probability is when you go from, 1:1 to 1:5 would drop down exponentially. So if you want to have a consistency, better you tweak that according to the market conditions. There's no fixed number, unfortunately. Then about my routine, it really depends. It really depends on the market. So in my trading plan, what I see that I stock some asset classes for some time. As Larry Williams says, the best time to enter in a trade is when that particular asset is in consolidation. So I would look for that asset which is in consolidation. Go on TradingView and open my screener every day and look for something which is in consolidation rather than in play. We'll stock that for some time unless and until it just breaks out of that range. I won't enter. But that is something that I have followed for last 1 year. And that has given me, a lot of profitable trades.
Got it. So you're looking for some sort of consolidation and then a break and retest of that consolidation, or?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It's a lot of weight. The weight actually is something that people don't want to do. But that is when you will catch big trends.
Right.
That is when you will get profitable. If you are impatient in market, there's little hope for you, really.
So what do you do as far as, like, do you set alarms, or, I mean, you're trading like more swing trader style. So, I mean, most of them will have an in session, but sometimes, you might have something that may move out of session. Do you only enter during session? Like how do you keep track with the movements of price and stuff like that?
So these are all by alerts. Either they are
Yeah, okay.
trading alerts or they could be MT4, MT5 alerts. Sometimes price alerts, sometimes moving average cross alerts. Those are definitely there, as well as some kind of my algos. So algos are just to refine those support and resistances, and support and resistances are such that dynamic. Every time they will be changing. You have to keep a track of those changes of your support and resistances. I will have those levels or the zones sometimes as trading view alerts. If
Yeah.
price crosses those zones, then I get alert, and then I will do the needful.
Are there any times when you set your, like, let's say you use like a buy stop and you just set stop loss levels and you're not necessarily on the charts? Do you ever do anything like that? Limits or stop order, like where it's like going towards the direction and it gets you in as it's going in the direction, and do you set things, or do you always just market execute on your trades?
80% of trades are market orders for me. If I'm expecting some kind of retracement,
Yeah.
I will put some kind of limit orders in market. But
Right.
majority of time, these are all market orders. And in terms of sessions, although I live in London time zone, that's the least that I trade, because mostly London, as Michael will call it, it's the time where you have more probability of Judah swings. If that is the case, then I will enter sometime in Asia, but predominantly it's early New York, which is like 7 a.m. New York, which is 12 or noon London time.
Yeah, because you're in the EU, so the time difference is probably nice to have that, be able to wake
Yes.
up and be able to just trade like that.
But where you are, I think it's even good, because I was traveling US a couple of months ago, and when I was in West Coast time zone, that also is pretty good. You take a weird sleep, and next day you will see the profit in your account.
Yeah, it's tough for me though, because like I said, I'm more of a scalper intraday. So if I go to, it's like I can't really fall asleep if I'm in a trade. So I know that about myself. Eventually I know I'd like to be more of a swing trader style, so I can just set and forget. But man, yeah, I've like in the beginning of my trading, at least, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but I lost a lot of money doing stuff like that. So I just kind of scarred myself with the like.
That's true. I wouldn't sleep that peacefully if the trade is on.
Yeah.
As time go by, you would realize that these are the trades. Sometimes they will pan out. I mean, I
Right.
was reading Larry Williams' book the other day, and he said all of those really red hot trade that you need to have, they will just trick you. They will just trick you, but you have to just sit, you have to hold them as long as possible. And those were the big winners for him. And it's true for me as well. Some of those trades, have I held long enough,
Yeah.
I would have had even more payouts. So that is something that I'm working on myself. It's this book. It's called How I Made
Oh, yep.
Dollars Last Year Trading Commodities by Larry
Got it.
Williams.
Yep, I've seen that one. I haven't actually read that one yet, but you think that's a good one so far?
That's awesome. That's an
Yeah.
awesome. Larry Williams, all books are really, really gold. They're worth gold.
So what other books are you like, have you read that you think are gold as well?
I think Trading Chaos by Bill Williams. That is a fantastic book.
Okay.
I know Michael doesn't like it, but I think Trading in the Zone, that is very book
Classic.
or psychology. One Good Trade, that is one of the amazing books.
Like Bell Fury, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I consume a lot of content in terms of, even podcasts. A lot of TFT podcasts have helped me. A lot of podcasts from, other sources such as Chat with Traders, Trading Night. There will be always, when I'm traveling from A to B, there will be always some podcast, some audio book about trading. So it's like you have to immerse yourself completely into it. You cannot be successful into something where you're not 100% in. You have to be 200% in. So all my journeys, there will be some kind of audiobook, trading audiobooks, trading podcast. or something to do with mathematics, something to do with algorithmic trading, something to do with machine learning, it will be always in the background playing in my car.
Yeah. Immerse yourself in the trading.
Immerse yourself. There's a methodology of swimming that I followed last year. I learned swimming at a very late stage in my life.
Okay.
And I was looking for a methodology which is more sort of helpful for adults. And then I found this total immersion swimming. So I would say total immersion trading is
Yeah.
something you need to have to be a successful trader.
If you could restart and be a new trader, like what steps would you take to get towards where you're at faster? Let's just say that.
If I have to restart, then I will keep things simple. Would focus mostly on the risk management and psychology. I
Okay.
would say psychology you can discount a little bit, but risk management, that is absolutely a must.
Yeah.
So if I would look at risk management, I would look at the psychology and then the technicals. I would tell myself that it's the fundamentals that move market, or the times where the fundamentals are released that moves market. So your best indicator is your economic calendar. There's nothing else.
What has helped you sort of fortify that psychological strength? In my journey, I've had, still to this day, I'm still working on like trying to hold trades for longer, especially as a swing trader, because, you could be up, one day and then the next day you're down, and, you might be in a trade for a few days. How do you work on that?
I use what any psychologist or psychiatrist, they use desensitization. You kind of expose yourself to those situations
Mm-hmm.
where you would be 5,000, say, in profit, and the next day you're in 500. That's fine, because the next move you could be 10,000. So it's your desensitization by exposing yourself to the market conditions and getting into those situations again and again and again and again. Maybe a different outcome. But the more you expose yourself, something what you are afraid of, if you keep exposing yourself to that willingly, then the fear would be reduced. And that, I think, is something that we can use in market as seasoned traders to get rid of that fear of a loss, or fear of missing out, because it's like going into a zen mode or a yoga mode. A
Yeah.
yogi will approach it without any sort of hope of getting a reward or losing the trade. That's the most important thing. I think a lot of early Japanese traders, they try to do that, and a best example of that is Ichimoku. Ichimoku works on the principle of equilibrium, that there is some equilibrium and you move away from that equilibrium. That makes that particular asset or that price tradable. That is what the market is all about. Everybody has this idea that what price you are seeing is a fair price. But when the price goes from that fair price, equilibrium price, to some other price, it becomes tradable. It
Interesting.
becomes tradable if that's not a fair price or the next fair price.
That's cool. I like that. Do you practice some sort of like meditation practice or something similar to that? Like, are you a spiritual person? Like,
Yes, I'm a spiritual person, and I do use a lot of different meditation styles, kind of yogic meditations, kind of modern meditation styles. One of the style that I am certified in terms of conducting is dynamic meditation. Is all about not sitting at one place and being quiet. It's
okay,
the total opposite of that.
that could be helpful in trading.
That can be helpful everywhere, and especially in trading, that is amazingly helpful because it brings out the entire sort of emotions out of you, your angers, your frustrations,
Yeah.
and your sort of disappointments. That is something gets like a mix inside you if you keep suppressing it.
Okay.
Dynamic meditation is something which exposes it and it gives an outlet. So it's very cathartic. And that helps to, you know, calm you down, bring you to that equilibrium state. And even if the market moves up and down, it's not going to move you because you are centered. I guess
So
that is a Zen-like trading state that you need to achieve in order to have a skill to hold your trades longer.
I like that. So can you walk us through sort of what that looked like a dynamic meditation looks like? Something simple like
I'll Google it. I guess
okay, yeah. So go ahead and Google that, guys, because I'm interested personally.
it's a big meditation. It has
Okay.
5 phases. So the first phase is like you have a very chaotic breathing. Next phase, you just go wild. The next phase, you stop doing whatever you're doing. The last phase is like you're celebrating that, okay, I have achieved something. Dirt and garbage, what was accumulated in my mind, is
Right.
out of my system. I think it's a fantastic practice to have. And once
Definitely.
you start having it for like 3 weeks, you will certainly find that it will make you calmer
Yeah.
person.
Okay.
It will make you see things objectively rather than whatever you want to see, because mind plays games at the end of the day. Conquering your mind is what the East has tried to do all their existence, really,
Right.
isn't it?
Absolutely. I love this. This is a great like this is I think so like underrated in the trading space is using tools like this to assist you in, I mean it doesn't have to just be trading, but specifically trading right now in these type of environments that are chaotic inside your mind when it can be playing tricks on you. What can we implement? Maybe even be like a 15-minute practice per day that could give us, like bigger returns towards our the thing that we're going towards, right?
Absolutely. And it's not only restricted to trading, it's life.
Right.
Because what I see that trading, it's like life. The price mimics life because there will be something happening in your life and suddenly something happens. Like, for one person who has, a normal life, 9 to 5 work, a wife, 2.5 kid and a dog, normal life, and suddenly something happens. He meets with an accident, or he becomes bankrupt, and then suddenly things change.
Right.
It's very chaotic. Our life is very chaotic. But if it becomes too chaotic, then you have a problem. And then if you become too orderly, that is also a problem. So what Dr. Jordan Peterson says is an interplay between, you have to walk on this edge of chaos and order. That is what is going to give you a meaning to your life. This is exactly what trading is. We are creating order, which is your profits,
Right.
from a chaotic price action. The more you can be an orderly person, you will balance out that chaos. Whatever helps in making you orderly will help you in trading, and it will help you in life. I
Yeah.
mean, I started trading full time. I know myself better than anything else. I mean, that's the self discovery sort of an exercise that I was in. Once I started realizing how much I am sort of being dishonest with myself, because even if the price is hitting that support or resistance, I would just, discount it. Oh,
Right.
it will just go there. But once I started being honest with myself, things change. That is what discipline is. And,
Right.
the founder of sort of Indian yogic practice, Patanjali, he said, what is yoga? It's a discipline. It's a discipline right from the first verse of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. He says that yoga is just a discipline. So the more you become disciplined, more you become orderly,
Right.
everything in life changes.
Thanks for sharing that. That's yeah, I mean, I think some people need to hear that,
Yes.
It's not just about trading. It's just it's bigger than just trading, but it all bleeds in together into your life, right? So, is there any like tips that you would give to maybe like a struggling trader? Maybe they're trying to get funded and they can't break through the barrier, or to new traders in general?
What I would say is you focus on risk management, number one.
Okay.
Understand what is risk management. One of the podcast, TFT podcast, one guest really sort of put it into words, and that stuck with me. I mean, in trading, you have only 5 outcomes. You have big losses, you have small losses. You have big profits, you have small profits, and you have break even. All that you need to take out are your big losses. That's it. And survive. Survive for another day. Don't just go with martingale, just betting twice what you baited, previously. That's the road to perdition.
Right.
If you take it the other way, that's most important. You
Yeah, yeah,
survive,
totally. Yeah, adding to your winners,
survive.
right?
It's adding to your winners, but if you lose, then you have to reduce your position sizing, ensure your survival. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but it's a marathon. And look at not just one trade. One trade, if that is killing your account, I was that person, right? But if one trade is killing your account, then something there is wrong. You have to change that and make sure that you hold on to the trades until they go to their logical ends. And if they waver here, there a little bit, that's fine, because unless and until you realize profit or loss, everything is up in the air. First, have a process, trust your process, stick to that process. Don't use too much complexity, which would sort of confuse you.
Right.
And then look at the risk management and avoid big losses.
That's definitely one of the biggest things I think for beginning traders to understand is just remove that piece, whatever that means to you, whatever your account size is, like figure out what you can sustain like per trade, 1-2%, whatever. If you're losing 5-6% per trade, you gotta change something there. You're obviously not following your own plan. If you're gonna put in all this work, all this time and effort, you might as well get that piece right now instead of, delaying that to sustain some big loss later down the road. So I appreciate you sharing that. Are you like mentoring anyone, or do you have something like that for people want to, they see this interview and they're like, oh, I like this guy, I want to connect with him?
At the moment, I'm not mentoring anyone,
Okay.
although, few friends, but not actively. I think I'm quite a private person as such. I like to take things easy, but soon I will create a course online, share my knowledge to the world.
Yeah, I like that. I like how simple you keep things. Do you have an Instagram? Did you want to share? Like, what's your Instagram handle if you have one?
My YouTube handle, I would be starting pretty soon, and that is the Red Pill Trader.
Red Pill Trader. Do you have that already secured? Do you have the YouTube?
Yeah, I have the handle secured.
Cool.
That's on YouTube, and the same one on X.
And if there's any last words that you want to just share with our audience.
Immerse yourself completely. I guess it's a total immersion trading that you should be. If you're in this game, be 100%. And I can guarantee that it will change your life. It will absolutely change your life. You will know more about yourself and you'll be more honest with yourself. And the more you dive in, you would gain not just in terms of financial sort of profits, but there will be other gains coming to your life. Your health, the wealth is definitely taken care, and your sort of spiritual growth.
That's awesome. Thank you, Shiva. I appreciate that. You guys heard it here. Immerse yourself. If you're gonna get into trading, give it everything that you got. Just get into the game and, like I said, immerse yourself. I enjoyed this podcast, and I know that our audience is gonna find this beneficial. Thank you, Shiva, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kenta.
Hopefully we'll have you again in another, down the line, maybe, we'll see you again soon. Just let us know when you want to have another podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.